President Donald Trump's national approval rating has hit a new low, marking a pivotal moment in his presidency and sending shockwaves through the political landscape. As of June 13, 2025, the numbers are in, and they paint a sobering picture for the Trump administration. Only 47% of American voters now approve of his job performance, while a significant 53% disapprove, according to the latest national polls. This results in a net approval rating of -6, a figure that underscores the growing divide between the president and the American public. This isn't just a minor dip, it's a significant shift, reflecting months of mounting public dissatisfaction and frustration with the administration's direction. Policy decisions, ongoing controversies, and a series of polarizing public statements have steadily eroded Trump's support base, alienating even some former allies. The decline in approval isn't a temporary blip, it's a persistent downward trend that signals deep-rooted issues within the administration and the country at large. With approval ratings this low, the administration faces an uphill battle in pushing its legislative agenda, while political opponents feel increasingly emboldened to challenge the president at every turn. These numbers highlight a nation more polarized than ever, with passionate supporters and vocal critics clashing over the future direction of the country. For President Trump, the mounting challenges are not just political, they're personal, as he faces scrutiny from both the media and the public. Rebuilding trust with the American people will require more than just minor policy tweaks or strategic messaging. It demands a genuine effort to address the core concerns and frustrations of disaffected voters, many of whom feel left behind or unheard. The path forward remains uncertain, with the administration at a crossroads and the nation watching closely to see what comes next. These latest approval numbers represent a major hurdle for Trump, one that could shape the remainder of his presidency and his legacy. How his team chooses to respond, whether by doubling down on current strategies or pivoting to new approaches, could define not only the next chapter of his presidency, but also the political climate of the country. The stakes for both President Trump and the nation have never been higher, as the eyes of America and the world remain fixed on what happens next. State-level data reveals even more troubling signs for President Trump. As the election cycle heats up, the numbers coming in from across the country are painting a picture that is far from reassuring for the incumbent. Pollsters and analysts are closely watching the trends, and what they're seeing is a shift that could have major implications for the upcoming race. Once reliable strongholds like Texas now show a net approval of -3, a major warning sign. Texas, long considered a Republican bastion, is now showing cracks in its support for Trump. The negative approval rating is not just a number, it reflects growing discontent among voters who once formed the backbone of his base. Scenes of protests and shifting attitudes at polling stations highlight the seriousness of this change. North Carolina, another key battleground, is also slipping away. Once a reliable swing state for Republicans, recent polls indicate a steady decline in support for Trump, with more voters expressing doubts about his leadership and policies. The mood at local rallies and polling places is noticeably more uncertain than in previous years. The erosion of support in these states suggests dissatisfaction is spreading beyond traditional Democratic areas. Conversations in cafes and public spaces reveal a growing sense of frustration, not just among Democrats but also among independents and even some Republicans. The political landscape is shifting and the ripple effects are being felt across the South. Losing ground in swing states narrows Trump's electoral path and signals a broader political realignment. With fewer safe states, the road to victory becomes much steeper, and every electoral vote counts more than ever. The reactions at rallies and campaign events reflect this heightened sense of urgency. Moderate and independent voters in these regions are rethinking their support. Many are voicing concerns about the direction of the country and questioning whether Trump's policies align with their values and priorities. Focus groups and interviews reveal a growing openness to alternative candidates, making these voters a critical target for both parties. While Trump still dominates in deep red states, elections are won in the battlegrounds. The energy at rallies and Republican strongholds remains high, but the real contest will be decided in states where the outcome is far less certain. Campaign signs and grassroots efforts in these areas underscore the fierce competition ahead. The reasons for this decline vary. Economic concerns, social issues, and leadership style all play a role. For some, worries about inflation and job security are top of mind. Others are motivated by debates over social justice, healthcare, and the tone set by national leaders. Mixed reactions at rallies show that the base is no longer as unified as it once was. The administration can't afford to ignore these warning signs. Political advisors are sounding the alarm, urging a reassessment of strategy and messaging. Headlines across the country highlight the growing risks facing the campaign if these trends continue unchecked. Re-engaging with voters in these key states is essential for any hope of political recovery. Grassroots efforts, town hall meetings, and direct outreach are now more important than ever. Campaigns are ramping up their presence, hoping to reconnect with disillusioned voters and rebuild trust before it's too late. The shifting political map poses a serious challenge to Trump's future. As states once considered safe begin to waver, the path to victory grows narrower. Political analysts warn that unless the campaign can reverse these trends, the outcome of the next election could be dramatically different from what many expect. A new grassroots movement, No Kings, is organizing massive nationwide protests for June 14th, Flag Day. The timing is symbolic, countering a planned military-style parade and reclaiming the day for democracy. Organizers expect millions to participate, signaling widespread dissent against Trump's policies and perceived executive overreach. The movement's name is a direct rejection of authoritarianism, echoing America's founding principles. Trump's stern response has only galvanized protesters and drawn more attention to their cause. These demonstrations are shaping the political narrative and keeping pressure on the administration. The state-by-state breakdown reveals a nation split along deep political lines, with each region reflecting its own unique political identity and priorities. From coast to coast, the map is a vivid illustration of how divided the country has become, not just in terms of party loyalty, but also in the issues that matter most to voters in each state. Trump's support remains strong in places like Wyoming and Alabama, where rallies draw enthusiastic crowds and the MAGA movement still resonates deeply. In these states, his message continues to energize the base, and local leaders often echo his rhetoric. However, these reliably red states, while important, simply don't have the population numbers to secure a national victory on their own. In Democratic strongholds like California and Massachusetts, his disapproval is overwhelming. Here, opposition to Trump is not just political but cultural, with large protests and vocal resistance movements dominating the public discourse. These states are unlikely to shift no matter how the national mood changes. The real story, however, lies in the battleground states, places like Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, where support is wavering and voters are more divided than ever. These states, which have swung elections in the past, are filled with undecided voters and shifting allegiances, making them the true focal point of the upcoming race. Combined with recent declines in support in traditionally conservative states like Texas and North Carolina, this signals growing trouble in the political center. Suburban communities, once considered safe ground, are now battlegrounds themselves, with voters expressing uncertainty and concern about the future. Independent and moderate voters are drifting away, frustrated by polarization and seeking new alternatives. Many are removing political stickers from their cars, signaling a reluctance to publicly declare allegiance. The old coalition that once powered Trump's victories is no longer reliable, and the cracks are beginning to show. The shifting map demands a new strategy, one that can either win back disaffected voters or forge a completely new path to victory. Campaign strategists are poring over data, searching for ways to adapt to this rapidly changing landscape, knowing that the old playbook may no longer apply. The administration now faces a critical test in addressing this widespread state-level discontent. Protests outside government buildings and tense press conferences highlight the urgency of the moment as officials scramble to respond to the shifting mood of the electorate. The outcome of this struggle will ultimately shape Trump's political future, determining whether he can regain lost ground or if a new era in American politics is about to begin. Political analysts are watching closely, aware that the stakes have never been higher. The stakes in these battlegrounds have never been higher. Every vote cast, every rally held, and every undecided voter could tip the balance, making this one of the most consequential moments in recent political history. Trump's declining support isn't just domestic, it's global. A Pew Research Center survey shows a dramatic drop in U.S. favorability across 24 countries. America's closest allies, Canada, Mexico, Germany, France, now view the U.S. less favorably than ever. The America First approach and withdrawal from international agreements have damaged global relationships. Compared to the previous administration, the US is now seen as unreliable and unpredictable. Trump enters the upcoming G7 summit with diminished international standing. This makes it harder to build consensus and advance American interests abroad. The decline in global image has real consequences for US influence. America's ability to lead and shape world events is at risk. The world is watching and judging Trump's leadership. International skepticism is focused squarely on Trump himself. Pew's survey found 62% across 24 nations lack confidence in his global leadership. Only a handful of countries, Hungary, India, Israel, Kenya, Nigeria, show majority support. Most traditional allies express deep distrust, especially on issues like Ukraine, climate change, and migration. Trump's policies are widely seen as ineffective or harmful, further eroding US credibility. This lack of trust weakens America's ability to rally support and leaves room for rivals like China and Russia. Rebuilding global confidence will require a major shift in approach. The world's skepticism is a formidable obstacle for Trump's foreign policy. The contrast with President Biden's tenure is stark. Under Biden, America's global image rebounded, thanks to renewed alliances and multilateral cooperation. Biden's approach, strengthening NATO, rejoining the Paris Agreement, restored trust among allies. Trump's America First doctrine, by contrast, has led to friction and declining favorability. Allies now hedge their bets, seeking new partners. At summits like the G7, Trump faces skeptical counterparts and diminished goodwill. The legacy of Biden's diplomacy serves as a reminder of a different, more collaborative path. The world's preference is clear, and it's not Trump's approach. Global opinions on Trump's character are sharply divided. Many, especially in Western Europe, describe him as arrogant and dangerous, volatile and unpredictable. Yet some, particularly in India and Nigeria, see him as a strong leader. This duality fuels his polarizing effect worldwide. His policies, however, face broad international criticism. Tariffs on allies, hardline immigration, and withdrawal from the Paris Agreement have drawn widespread condemnation. His climate change stance receives the lowest marks globally. These actions reinforce negative perceptions and isolate the US from global consensus. Trump's leadership style and policies have deepened America's international divide. The convergence of falling approval, waning state support, mass protests, and low global confidence creates a daunting challenge for Trump. Domestically, low ratings embolden opposition and complicate governance. The shifting political map means old strategies may no longer work. Winning back moderates or forging a new coalition is essential but difficult in a polarized climate. Internationally, skepticism weakens America's influence and ability to lead. Rebuilding trust will take years and a major policy shift. The US risks isolation and diminished global standing. Trump's response to these pressures will define his presidency. The coming months are a crucial test of his leadership. The stakes for Trump and the nation could not be higher.